Let's go.
Shrewsbury religiously line up with two up front for league games, so it was a sign of what sort of game we were in for that Steve Cotterill picked only Christian Sadie to start up front against Sunderland today. Cotterill, it seemed, intended to pack the midfield, make the way to goal busy, and place the emphasis on defence. And, given the frightening attacking stats of Sunderland, it seemed sensible for Salop to be cautious. Mowbray named a slightly changed team, but injuries dictated that there were 5 youth players on the bench today, so not a lot in reserve. Sunderland began the match in a fairly fluid 4-4-1-1 formation with Amad Diallo up front, all 5'7" of him. Barr played just behind him in a sort of number 10 role, with Bennett and Roberts on the left and right wings alongside those two. Add to that Dan Neil and Edouard Michut in the midfield, and this was Sunderland's youngest ever starting front six, with an average age of just over 20 years old. We looked slightly out of sorts as the game began, passes were amiss and players seemed off the pace. It is perhaps to be expected when the team selection represents a rare combination of players. And maybe there was a little bit of a lacklustre attitude about a tie against a lower league team, that it could be won at perhaps three-quarter pace.
Here's Shipley again. Shrewsbury, who have really enjoyed the FA Cup over recent seasons.
Bennett, Amat, O'Nien, Roberts were all slow and poor to the ball in the first 5 minutes, and Mowbray was left shaking his head.
His team too entirely convinced in the game so far. But
into this, Shrewsbury started the better, playing off the counter in the tackle, and Luke Leahy almost scored as Sunderland looked to be still sat in the dressing room. Shrewsbury got their tails up with the start that they'd had.
Dispossessed. Leahy was there again. It's O'Brien trying to get forward on the run. And he's still going here, O'Brien. And was he brought down? Bayliss too, hoisted in high. Leahy!
But Sunderland gradually woke up, and by the 20-minute mark they were dominating possession, and most of Shrewsbury's chances had gone. What we got for pretty much the rest of the game was a typical cross-divisional FA Cup tie, with Sunderland trying to break down a dogged lower-tier defence, and Shrewsbury choosing to sit deep. Very, very deep. They had 2 banks of defenders on the 16-yard and 20-yard line, with only Christian Sadie up front as a single outlet. As the ball is gathered and played out by Bass here, just look how much Shrewsbury are prepared to retreat and how much territory they're prepared to concede before they engage the ball. There is no press whatsoever until well into their own half. The result is to compress play for Sunderland in the final third, making it extremely difficult for them to play through Shrewsbury.
And Diallo.
Despite this negative approach, Sunderland looked to have the skill to go through them. And on the 20-minute mark, Roberts seemed to prize them open with a certain penalty.
Plenty in recent weeks, including one from range against Wigan Athletic. Roberts, that's lovely football from Sunderland. He was caught!
But instead, he was booked for simulation.
Says no penalty. And a yellow card for Roberts for diving.
Replays show that he was clearly caught, though.
A big decision for Scott Oldham. He swung out a leg. It seemed like there was much contact.
Shortly afterwards, Michut had another shout turned down from a shove in the back.
Bennett. Michut on the burst, on the run, away from Bayliss. Still he goes! And no penalty again, says Scott Oldham.
But he probably goes down too easy looking for it. Surely, it's just a matter of time before we score here, right? Tony thought so, and Sunderland remained unchanged after half-time. And we had lots of possession, but were crowded out.
Roberts, Neil, back to Hugh, good football from Sunderland, and a lovely ball in, steered away by Elliot Bennett. A terrific bit of defending in the end. Well, the man who used to play for Tony Mowbray at Blackburn. And Sunderland are still on the attack. It's Amad Diallo, away by Moore. And it's Diallo again in some space. And Dunkley gets the...
On the hour mark, Mowbray looked to the bench to change the attack. With plenty of ball and possession, and no way through the Shrews' deep defence, Mowbray sought Stewart and Clarke and decided to give the team some scoring options with a crossing target. Crosses from Roberts and the subbed-on Clarke can't be defended from such a deep setup as Shrewsbury were employing, and if that avenue started to become a threat, it might necessitate a stretching of Shrewsbury's defence and perhaps a little more space in the middle. Despite Sunderland utterly dominating the game, Shrewsbury went up for a late corner in the 81st minute, and an excellent header from Matthew Pennington evaded the hand of Cod and bounced into the corner of the net.
Potentially what could be a late winner here. It's hoisted in high, Pennington! It's in! That might be the winner they were looking for! And are we about to see an FA Cup shock in Shropshire?
The worst seemed to be happening. With their only attack of the half, Shrewsbury were about to perform a traditional giant-killing smash and grab utterly against the run of play.
That might just take Steve Cotterill's team into the fourth round.
Mowbray persisted in a substitution on the restart that he had planned just before the goal. And on came 15-year-old Chris Rigg to become Sunderland's youngest ever outfield player in our 144-year history. Not the ideal introduction. Shortly after this, on the 84th minute, Steve Cotterill subbed on Julian Da Costa, a defender for Tom Bayliss, an attacking midfielder, in an effort to suck up some time and defend the single goal and the final 6 minutes of what would be a famous FA Cup win. Sunderland pressed repeatedly and furiously to no avail, and we entered stoppage time.
What about shooting? Look at the number of Shrewsbury players back behind the ball. Diallo. Sunderland shall not pass, at least not yet. Roberts.
Fourth official declared 4 minutes of extra time, and Rigg drove down the left to win us a late corner. Mowbray argued there should be more time.
Tony Mowbray not happy. Sunderland's way.
Clarke stepped up to take our 1 millionth corner without a goal, and remarkably, at the death of the game, that sorry statistic was buried by Ross Stewart as he rose to tower above his marker on the 6-yard box and pommelled home the equaliser.
Clarke to swing it in dangerously, and the header is in, and Sunderland have indeed equalised, and who's got it? You've guessed it, Ross Stewart. Right at the very end, Shrewsbury hearts are broken.
Shrewsbury were crestfallen. For Sunderland, blushes had been saved, but a costly replay loomed. And but for Steve Cotterill's 84th minute defensive sub, the game would have ended here. But the resulting extra 30 seconds led to one last chance.
Here is Neil. Sunderland trying to pinch it right at the end. Diallo, 20 seconds to go. Diallo laying it back! Oh, they have won it! Luke O'Nien has swept Sunderland into the fourth round of the FA Cup, and look what it means!
It was a sign of just how deep Shrewsbury were defending that our left-back was up unmarked on their 18-yard line. Delirium in the crowd, barely time to start again, and we were through, remarkably, to the fourth round.
Sunderland have won it! They are through to the fourth round of the FA Cup in dramatic fashion.
The win wasn't pretty or clever. It was a classic cup tie and a case of back to basics and never giving in. When Chris Rigg reflects on his first-class debut 20 years from now, he will no doubt tell how he came on at 1-0 down and turned the game. Of course, there's more to it than that, but I like fairy tales, so let's show how he might be justified in claiming that. Well, Rigg does win the equalising corner here. And he's first to the second ball, laying it off to Hume for the play that results in the winner. Well done, Chris. Enjoy this moment. And that was it. What looked to be a frustrating afternoon became a joyous one. It surely couldn't get any better, could it?
Diallo laying it back! Oh, they
Ouch.
Sub today for Brighton, Denny Zundam.
And Newcastle lose the game for only
Oops. Happy days. See you next time. If you made it this far, well, thanks for watching. Give me a thumbs up, I guess, if you liked it. Share, subscribe if you liked it a lot, and you'll get a notification when the next one of these reviews comes out. Thanks a lot.